when you're intelligence maxing, I think the best way to leverage your knowledge and your intelligence is to apply it to someone else's problem. In other words, help other people. Try helping other people solve their problem. Your intelligence and knowledge, when applied to an active problem that someone else is facing, can be more motivational for you to achieve. You will be able to definitely solve that person's problem, and that person will be very grateful to you for solving their problem. And in return, you will earn satisfaction because you're able to leverage intelligence, knowledge, and your experience to solve someone's problem. Number one, so there is satisfaction in just utilizing your knowledge. Secondly, you may get something out of it. All right, maybe it deepens the relationship with your friend. Maybe you can get paid for using your knowledge and intelligence for that problem. Or maybe it's just artful and artistic, and it fulfills the creativity factor. You're doing it because you love doing it. You're in for the art of applying your knowledge to solve an active problem. And I feel as human beings, it's very important for us to obviously gain more intelligence and knowledge, but I think it's even more important to execute and apply the accumulated knowledge and intelligence to active problems every day, if possible, if not every week or every month, once in a while. The more you're able to apply your intelligence and knowledge to problems, you will feel very satisfied, and you will be able to build really good connections. You're able to solve problems. You might be able to turn your passion into profit, or you might just have fun, and you might end up making money as well. I'm not necessarily saying to focus on making money, using your intelligence to make money, because I think whenever you try to force making money, it will always run faster. The more you chase money, the more faster it runs away from you. But the moment you start chasing problem solving, helping people, actually like trying to like legitimately find out problems, list them down, having conversations, finding out via conversation, finding out exactly the problems that someone is facing, and using your now knowledge, experience, and expertise to solve them for free, for fun, if you can, puts you in a very, very good position in life. You're able to do things without an ego. You're able to leverage your existing knowledge, resources, and intelligence. You're able to build connection and relationship. You're able to create a case study for yourself. You're able to see where your knowledge and intelligence can be applied. For example, I'm into the creative space, right? I run a creative agency, and I also love mixing design and tech together. But recently, a friend of mine had a problem, or you could say an itch or a curiosity if a certain fintech problem can be solved, a certain finance related problem can be solved with technology. And I was like, yeah, sure, let's talk about it. And he told me about how they're trying to do something, and study the data from annual reports of different companies, and some financial related stuff on a venture capitalist level. And I was like, yeah, sure, let's finish some, because I'm actively like messing around with Claude Code and AI and LLMs and building stuff. And I love building. Like, building is something that I love. Helping people is something that I love. I love teaching, and moreover, I find immense joy when I'm able to apply something I learned or something I picked up from all the scrappiest ways I have learned things in life and apply it to one specific problem. That gets me a lot of joy. That excites me. That energizes me as a person. And I don't care if I get paid from this or not. I'm just happy to make something and see it being used somewhere. And if you're someone like me, um, who is intelligent, I know it sounds a little bit narcissistic to call myself intelligent, but okay. If you're someone who has accumulated a lot of knowledge or insight, or has burned their hands in a specific industry, or doing things, and you've accumulated that experience, right? I think you may be better off helping other people. The short answer is, if you're intelligent, start helping other people. If you are knowledgeable, start helping other people. Start putting your brain to use to someone else's problem, because you're not starting stuff from scratch. You're not building from scratch. You're building on someone's existing platform, and I think the way to work with someone also, by the way, which is apart from like knowledge and intelligence stacking, which is, I'm going to call this other parameter variable called, communication and problem solving. That's another skill. That's another thing you can learn, which is, knowing how to communicate with someone, understand what they mean, understand exactly, try to break down the problem that they have. So, via conversation, actually trying to like gauge and pick their brain on the problem that they're solving, and then, asking people questions itself, I feel is like super important and is very much a skill that comes, I guess, under communication. Is also super important if you're trying to help someone, right? You can't help someone without knowing exactly what their problem is. Sometimes the person who has a problem does not know how to communicate their problem, or might just not know the right words to illustrate or communicate their problem. So you have to ask them questions. As an expert, you have to ask them questions so that they can be more clear. You need to help them achieve clarity and be more clear, because you also don't know what their problem is, and they also don't know what their problem is. But there is a problem, but it hasn't surfaced yet. It hasn't been communicated clearly. So nobody knows what the problem is. And the only way this will work is that both sides put in effort to try to, nitpick each other's brain, question, answer, to kind of make that problem statement more clearer and clearer. And as it becomes more clearer, both parties have more sense of direction and have a better understanding of the problem. And once we've clearly identified the problem, then the solution appears gradually. Like the solution just appears. Once your problem is so clearly defined, the solution also comes. So that's the best part about it, right? So the more clear you're able to illustrate your problems, the faster and the better the solution comes. It sounds like Yoda right now, but that's really what it is. We need to be, human beings are on a constant of trying to make the problems more clearer and clearer. What's the actual problem? How do we solve for it? And while while you're solving for the problem, you'll have more questions, and these questions then add to the main question that makes the entire problem statement more and more clear. And the method and the process of also solving that problem becomes more clearer and clearer. And what we're essentially trying to do is find that one path out of the million paths that you can take to solve X problem. Find that one path that works for you and works for both parties, and which is the most least resistant, most viable path, right, for you in your current circumstance, based on who you are and X, Y, Z. But my point is, if you're someone who is intelligence maxing, knowledge maxing right now, and you feel confident that, okay, I feel, it's hard to get this feeling that, I know I learned enough. No intelligent person, no curious learner is ever going to feel satisfied with the knowledge and intelligence that they have. All right, it's a spiral. It's a weird addiction to keep on learning new things and uh, feeding and consuming more and more knowledge or intelligence. So no real academic person is going to feel satisfied. But if you feel that you spent some amount of time, you've helped people, you've tried to solve problems, and you feel that okay, um, you are okay with speaking to other people and finding out their problem and at least attempting it, give it a shot. You never know what could happen. You never know um, how your intelligence could be applied. There's no way that you can predict how your intelligence and knowledge can be applied to someone's problem and how hard or easy it could be um, to solve that particular problem. The problem could be way more easier to solve when you're solving it for someone else. There's a different kind of sorry, there's a different kind of satisfaction that comes with solving someone else's problem. So hence help other people. Try to communicate, find problems in this world that we live in, question stuff, and try to solve it. If there is a problem, if there's no problem, don't try to make a solution for no problem. A problem that does not exist does not require a solution. But you don't know if the problem exists or not, so you need to go out and speak to people and find out what is their problem, so that you can make note of it and then choose to solve it or not. All right. So cheers. See you. Bye.